Good evening. 200-year-old Bible. God bless you. I hope you've had a lovely day wherever you are in the world, and that your day has been full of Jesus. And if you've had a hard day, then I hope that this reading of Genesis chapter 14 will ease your burden, because Jesus says to us to take every thought captive to Him and to lean on Him for anything and everything. There's always hope. You never have to walk this journey alone. God bless you. Genesis chapter 14. And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations, that these made war with Bera, king of Sodom, and with Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, and Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, which is Zor. All these were joined together in the vale of Siddim, which is the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Chedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year came Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, and smote the Rephaims in Ashtaroth, Canaim, and the Zuzims in Ham, and the Emims in Shaveh Kiriathaim, and the Horites in their Mount Seir unto El Paran, which is by the wilderness. And they returned and came to En Mishpat, which is Kadesh, and smote all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites that dwelt in Hazazon Tamar. And there went out the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, the same is Zor, and they joined battle with them in the vale of Siddim, with Chedorlaomer, the king of Elam, and with Tidal, king of nations, and Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, 4 kings with 5. And the vale of Siddim was full of slime pits. And the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, and fell there, and they that remained fled to the mountain. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their victuals, and went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. And there came one that had escaped, and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abram. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. And he divided himself against them, he and his servants, by night, and smote them, and pursued them unto Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot, and his goods, and the women also, and the people. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and of the kings that were with him at the valley of Shaveh, which is the king's dale. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High God, which hath delivered thine enemies into thy hand. And he gave him tithes of all. And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, Give me the persons, and take the goods to thyself. And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up mine hand unto the Lord, the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take from a thread even to a shoe latchet, and that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abram rich, save only that which the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men which went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their portion. Let's go to the footnotes of chapter 14. The term king is often applied in the East to the chief of a tribe or the ruler of a small town. Elasar was probably in Media. Elam is the ancient name of Persia. Shinar includes the plains of Babylon, about the junction of the Euphrates and the Tigris, and extends to the Persian Gulf. The part of the plain lying east of Jolan, the ancient Golonitis, as far as the range of hills which comes down from the neighborhood of Damascus, is called Horan, and here is supposed were the nations of which title was the king. The rulers are here mentioned of the cities of the plain or vale, to which hereafter there will be many references: Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Zor. The name first given to this side was the Vale of Siddim. After the destruction of these cities, it was called the Salt Sea. They stood around its southern extremity. Ashtaroth and Karnaim, or the Giants' Valley, at this time the residence of the Rephaims, who were of gigantic stature, was 470 years after, at the period of the Exodus, the residence of Og, king of Bashan. The Zuzims of Inham dwelt further south about the mouth of the Jordan and the northeast coast of the Dead Sea. The Amims were a kindred tribe in the same neighborhood. Some have supposed the Horites to have been the first dwellers in caves, either formed by nature or easily excavated, and for the construction of these, the mountains of Edom afforded peculiar facilities. Hence the Aboriginal inhabitants were called Hurim, that is, cave dwellers. The country of Judea, being mountainous and rocky, is full of caverns, to which the inhabitants were accustomed to flee for shelter from the incursions of their enemies. Many other instances might easily be mentioned as having occurred in different countries. In the village of Tufo, I'm sorry if that's not pronounced right, Tufolks or Tufo, on the Loire or on the Law, numerous caverns are to be seen, and what is still more remarkable, they may be found for leagues, not only by the river, but spread over the interior of the country. At first sight, they have been supposed to be natural formations, but on close inspection, many, at least, appear to be scooped in the rock by the hands of man. Here, various classes of the people have found a dwelling place, from the beggar who seeks merely a shelter, and the peasant who scantily furnishes his rocky chamber, to the man of wealth who builds himself a summer retreat and the ornaments his wild haunt in every way that his fancy or taste may suggest. The villages of Georgia and some parts of Armenia are built partly underground, and thus a stranger finds himself walking on the roof of a house, while when he supposes himself on plain ground. The greatest part of these subterranean dwellings are lighted by apertures at the top. The invaders extended their conquest to Mount Hor in Seir or Edom. Thence they directed their course up to Arabah, the plain of Jordan, to En Mishpat, Kadesh, Barnea, and the wilderness of Paran, south of Judea, to the Hazazon Tamar. Chedorlaomer returned along the valley of the Jordan to Dan, above the waters of Merom, the modern Huleh, where he and his people were overtaken by Abram and pursued 50 miles further to Hobah, beyond Damascus. D. Solcy, a French traveler, lately discovered around the southern extremity of the Dead Sea treacherous and concealed chasms and slime pits, which made the traveling exceedingly difficult and dangerous. A short time before his visit, a camel had sunk into one of these chasms and was lost. Several of the travelers' horses sank into these slime pits south of the Dead Sea. One was lost, and all might have perished but for the skillful guidance and precautions of the faithful Arabs who accompanied him. It may appear strange to a native of England that Abram should have so many servants trained to arms and born in his own house. Yet many Hindus in North Ceylon possessed numbers of slaves who were born on their own grounds. One instance is mentioned of a man who had nearly 1,000 of his fellow creatures at one time, the descendants of his slaves, and in the strongest sense of the word, his vassals. Abram had conquered the enemies of his family, for the 4 kings had taken Lot, his nephew, prisoner. He had also defeated his own foes. Melchizedek expressly says, God hath delivered thine enemies into thy hand, and the traditions of the Jews affirm that the 4 kings had determined to destroy Abram himself. He had subdued the enemies of a tribe some of whom were in covenant or treaty with him. Genesis 14:13. He had conquered the invaders of Canaan, who desired to impose on Lot, and on Abram or his family the foul idolatries from which they had been graciously delivered. And he now was blessed by Melchizedek in the King's Dale on the southwest of Jerusalem, which communicated with the valley of Jehoshaphaton. Sorry about the pronunciation. Jehoshaphaton on the southeast and the neighboring territory. As Melchizedek was king of Salem, and the enemies of that peculiar territory were defeated by Abram, he might be deemed both its deliverer and its conqueror, and the action of Melchizedek seems to imply the formal, though not actual, tendering of his small principality, including the capital of the whole country, to Abram. It implied that the patriarch was the superior chief by right of conquest, though it does not appear that he became lord and possessor of the city of Melchizedek. The city was not possessed by the family of Abram until the days of David. If the city of Melchizedek may be regarded as the capital of Palestine at that time, we may deem the opinion of Lightfoot to be correct, that Melchizedek resigned to Abram the virtual sovereignty of the whole country, and thus confirmed by surrender, if not by treaty, the possession which Abram had gained by conquest. Various have been the opinions of expositors respecting Melchizedek. Some have conjectured that he was Shem, who was Abram's venerable progenitor, was entitled to peculiar respect. But Shem's genealogy was well known, and Levi was descended from him, as well as from Abram, which is irreconcilable with the apostles' reasoning on the subject. Surely the apostle in this case would never have said that Melchizedek was made like to the Son of God, or that Christ was constituted a priest after the order of Melchizedek, or that he was a type of himself. Though we are not told who he was, yet we may reasonably conclude he was a person venerable for sanctity, who ruled over his subjects in righteousness while they lived under him in peace, which, when oppression and violence prevailed among their neighbors, perhaps gave the name of Melchizedek, which signifies King of righteousness, to him, and to his city, that of Salem, the meaning of which is peace. The bread and wine he offered constituted a suitable refreshment for Abram's weary followers, and it is remarkable that Christ has appointed the same as the symbols of his body and blood. Melchizedek is the only person expressly spoken of as the priest of the true God before the institution of Aaron's priesthood. In this he had neither predecessor nor successor, but was divinely appointed to this service for special purposes. To lift up the right hand with the fingers towards heaven is, in the East, equivalent to an oath. Does a man make a solemn promise, and should the person to whom it is made express a doubt, it is common to say, "Lift up your hand," which means swear that you will fulfill your word. A letter directed to Muhammad Issouf by the regent of Mysore was sealed with his seal of signature, and on the back was stamped the print of a hand, a form equivalent to an oath with the people of that country. And this is Melchizedek blesses Abram.